Qatar is a country in West Asia. It occupies the Qatar Peninsula on the northeastern coast of the Arabian Peninsula in the Middle East. It shares its sole land border with Saudi Arabia to the south, with the rest of its territory surrounded by the Persian Gulf. The Gulf of Bahrain, an inlet of the Persian Gulf, separates Qatar from nearby Bahrain. The capital is Doha, home to over 80% of the country's inhabitants, and the land area is mostly made up of flat, low-lying desert. Qatar has been ruled as a hereditary monarchy by the House of Thani since Mohammed bin Thani signed a treaty with the British in 1868 that recognized its separate status. Following Ottoman rule, Qatar became a British protectorate in 1916, and gained independence in 1971. The current emir is Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, who holds nearly all executive and legislative authority under the Constitution of Qatar, as well as controlling the judiciary. He appoints the Prime Minister and Cabinet. The partially elected Consultative Assembly can block legislation and has a limited ability to dismiss ministers. In early 2017, the total population of Qatar was 2.6 million, with 313,000 of them Qatari citizens and 2.3 million expatriates. Its official religion is Islam. In terms of income, the country has the fourth highest GDP, PPP, per capita in the world 20 and the 11th highest GNI per capita, Atlas method. Qatar ranks 42nd in the Human Development Index, the third highest HDI in the Arab world. It is a high-income economy, backed by the world's third-largest natural gas reserves and oil reserves. Qatar is one of the world's largest exporters of liquefied natural gas, and the world's largest emitter of carbon dioxide per capita. In the 21st century, Qatar emerged as a middle power in the Arab world through its resource wealth, as well as its globally expanding media group, Al Jazeera Media Network, and reportedly supporting several rebel groups financially during the Arab Spring. Qatar forms part of the Gulf Cooperation Council. Qatar is a dialogue partner of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Qatar's human rights record has been regarded by academics and non-governmental organizations as being generally poor, with restrictions on civil liberties such as the freedoms of association, expression, and the press, as well as its treatment of thousands of migrant workers amounting to forced labor for projects in the country. Qatar's economy and status as a regional power rapidly grew in the 2000s. According to the UN, the nation's economic growth, measured by GDP, was the fastest in the world during this decade. The basis of this growth lay in the exploitation of natural gas in the North Field during the 1990s. At the same time, the population of Qatar tripled between 2001 and 2011, mostly due to an influx of foreigners. In 2010, Qatar won the right to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup, making it the first country in the Middle East to be selected to host the tournament. The awarding increased further investment and developments within the nation during the 2010s. In June 2013, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani became the Emir of Qatar after his father handed over power in a televised speech. Sheikh Tamim has prioritized improving the domestic welfare of citizens, which includes establishing advanced healthcare and education systems, and expanding the country's infrastructure in preparation for the hosting of the 2022 World Cup. Qatar hosted the 2022 FIFA World Cup from November 21 to December 18, becoming the first Arab and Muslim-majority country to do so, and the third Asian country to host it following the 2002 FIFA World Cup in Japan and South Korea. Qatar is officially a semi-constitutional monarchy, but the wide powers retained by the monarchy have it still bordering an absolute monarchy ruled by the Al Thani family. The eighth Emir of Qatar is Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, whose father Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani handed power to him on June 25, 2013. The Emir has the exclusive power to appoint the Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers who, together, constitute the Council of Ministers, which is the supreme executive authority in the country. The Council of Ministers also initiates legislation. The Consultative Assembly is made up of 30 popularly elected members and 15 appointed by the Emir. It can block legislation with a simple majority and can dismiss ministers, including the Prime Minister, with a 2/3 vote. The Assembly had its first elections in October 2021 after several postponements. Qatar law does not permit the establishment of political bodies or trade unions. According to Qatar's constitution, Sharia law is the main source of Qatar legislation, although, in practice, Qatar's legal system is a mixture of civil law and Sharia law. Sharia law is applied to family law, inheritance, and several criminal acts, including adultery, robbery, and murder. In some cases, Sharia-based family courts treat a female's testimony as being worth half that of a man. Codified family law was introduced in 2006. Islamic polygyny is permitted. Judicial corporal punishment is a punishment in Qatar. Only Muslims considered medically fit are liable to have such sentences carried out. Flogging is employed as a punishment for alcohol consumption or illicit sexual relations. Alcohol consumption is partially legal in Qatar. Some 5-star luxury hotels are allowed to sell alcohol to their non-Muslim customers. Muslims are not allowed to consume alcohol, and those caught consuming it are liable to flogging or deportation. Non-Muslim expatriates can obtain a permit to purchase alcohol for personal consumption. The Qatar Distribution Company, a subsidiary of Qatar Airways, is permitted to import alcohol and pork. It operates the one and only liquor store in the country, which also sells pork to holders of liquor licenses. Qatari officials had indicated a willingness to allow alcohol in fan zones at the 2022 FIFA World Cup. However, on November 18, 2 days before the start of the games, Qatari officials announced alcoholic beverages would no longer be permitted within the stadiums. In 2014, a modesty campaign was launched to remind tourists of the country's restrictive dress code. Female tourists were advised not to wear leggings, miniskirts, sleeveless dresses, or short or tight clothing in public. Men were warned against wearing only shorts and singlets. Since 2014, Qatar has been divided into 8 municipalities: Al-Shamal, Al-Khair, Al-Shahaniya, Salal, Al-Dian, Ad-Daha, Doha, Al-Rayyan, Al-Wakra. The Qatar Peninsula protrudes 160 kilometers, 100 miles, into the Persian Gulf, north of Saudi Arabia. It lies between latitudes 24 degrees and 27 degrees north, and longitudes 50 degrees and 52 degrees east. Most of the country consists of a low, barren plain, covered with sand. To the southeast lies the Qair al-Adad, inland sea, an area of rolling sand dunes surrounding an inlet of the Persian Gulf. There are mild winters and very hot, humid summers. The highest point in Qatar is Khorrain Abu al-Bal at 103 meters, 338 feet, in the Jebel Dukhan to the west, a range of low limestone outcroppings running north-south from Zikrat through Bab to the southern border. The Jebel Dukhan area also contains Qatar's main onshore oil deposits, while the natural gas fields lie offshore, to the northwest of the peninsula. The discovery transformed the state's economy. Now, the country has a high standard of living for its legal citizens. With no income tax, Qatar, along with Bahrain, is one of the countries with the lowest tax rates in the world. The unemployment rate in June 2013 was 0.1%. Corporate law mandates that Qatari nationals must hold 51% of any venture in the emirate. Trade and industry in the emirate is overseen by the Ministry of Business and Trade. As of 2016, Qatar has the 4th highest GDP per capita in the world, according to the International Monetary Fund. It relies heavily on foreign labor to grow its economy, to the extent that migrant workers compose 86% of the population and 94% of the workforce. Qatar is the leading exporter of liquefied natural gas. In 2012, it was estimated that Qatar would invest over $120 billion in the energy sector in the next 10 years. The country was a member state of Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, having joined in 1961, and having left in January 2019. In 2012, Qatar retained its title of richest country in the world, according to per capita income, for the third time in a row, having first overtaken Luxembourg in 2010. Established in 2005, Qatar Investment Authority is the country's sovereign wealth fund, specializing in foreign investment. Due to billions of dollars in surpluses from the oil and gas industry, the Qatari government has directed investments into United States, Europe, and Asia Pacific. As of 2013, the holdings were valued at $100 billion in assets. Qatar Holding is the international investment arm of QIA. Since 2009, Qatar Holding has received $30 to $40 billion a year from the state. As of 2014, it has investments around the world in Valentino, Siemens, Printemps, Harrods, the Shard, Barclays Bank, Heathrow Airport, Paris Saint-Germain FC, Volkswagen Group, Royal Dutch Shell, Bank of America, Tiffany, Agricultural Bank of China, Sainsbury's, BlackBerry, and Santander Brazil. The country has no taxes on non-companies, but authorities have announced plans to levy taxes on junk food and luxury items. The taxes would be implemented on goods that harm the human body, for example, fast food, tobacco products, and soft drinks. The rollout of these initial taxes is believed to be due to the fall in oil prices and a deficit that the country faced in 2016. Additionally, the country saw job cuts in 2016 from its petroleum companies and other sectors in the government. Qatar is one of the fastest growing countries in the field of tourism. According to the World Tourism Rankings, more than 2.3 million international tourists visited Qatar in 2017. Qatar has become one of the most open countries in the Middle East due to its recent visa facilitation improvements, including allowing nationals of 88 countries to enter visa-free and free of charge. Qatar was recently put in the top 8 in market climate in the Middle East by the Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Survey 2019 of the World Economic Forum. Doha is a city with one of the fastest growing hotel and hospitality markets in the world. The $220 billion spent on infrastructure since the successful World Cup bid of 2010 has helped boost the industry. Hotels have also been helped by the country's geographic location. Qatar tourism sector continues to witness a strong recovery with more than 729,000 international visitors in the first half of 2022, marking a 19% increase compared to the full year of 2021. And their aim is to raise tourism to 12% of GDP by 2030. The nation is also on course to experience a major jump in athletic and corporate tourism with hosting world-class tournaments such as the 2030 Asian Games and the awaited 2022 FIFA World Cup. Qatar National Airlines, as well as Hamad International Airport, provide travelers with one of the best transportation services in the world, and this has increased tourism in Qatar. As of 2012, Qatar has proven oil reserves of 15 billion barrels and gas fields that account for more than 13% of the global resource. As a result, it is the richest state per capita in the world. None of its 2 million residents live below the poverty line and less than 1% are unemployed. Qatar Foundation has been active in helping Qatar achieve its solar power goals. It established Qatar Solar, which, together with Qatar Development Bank and German company Solar World, embarked on a joint venture resulting in the creation of Qatar Solar Technologies. In 2017, QS Tech commissioned its polysilicon plant in Ras Laffan. This plant has a total capacity of 1.1 MW of solar power. As driving is the primary mode of transport in Qatar, the road network is a major focus of the plan. Project highlights in this segment include the multi-billion-dollar Doha Expressway and the Qatar-Bahrain Causeway, which would connect Qatar to Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Mass transit options, such as a Doha metro, light rail system, and more extensive bus networks, are also under development to ease road congestion. Hamad International Airport is the international airport of Doha. In 2014, it replaced the former Doha International Airport as Qatar's principal airport. In 2016, the airport was named the 50th busiest airport in the world by passenger traffic, serving 37,283,987 passengers, a 20.2% increase from 2015. Qatar Airways is one of the largest airlines in the world that serves in 6 continents, connecting more than 160 destinations every day. It has won Airline of the Year in 2011, 2012, 2015, 2017 and 2019 and employs more than 46,000 people. The number of people in Qatar fluctuates considerably depending on the season, since the country relies heavily on migrant labor. In early 2017, Qatar's total population was 2.6 million, with foreigners making up a vast majority of Qatar's population. Only 313,000 of the population, 12%, were Qatari citizens, while the remaining 2.3 million, 88%, were expatriates. Islam is Qatar's predominant religion and is the state religion, although not the only religion practiced in the country, and the constitution guarantees freedom to practice any faith within moral bounds. The non-Muslim population is composed almost entirely of foreigners. Since 2008, Christians have been allowed to build churches on ground donated by the government. Active churches include the Martoma Church, Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church, the Roman Catholic Church of Our Lady of the Rosary, and the Anglican Church of the Epiphany. There are also 2 Mormon wards. Arabic is the official language of Qatar, with Qatari Arabic the local dialect. Qatari Sign Language is the language of the deaf community. English is commonly used as a second language, and a rising lingua franca, especially in commerce, to the extent that steps are being taken to try to preserve Arabic from English's encroachment. English is particularly useful for communication with Qatar's large expatriate community. In the medical community, and in situations such as the training of nurses to work in Qatar, English acts as a lingua franca. In 2012, Qatar joined the International French-Speaking Organization of La Francophonie, OIF, as a new associate member, but in December 2013, the French daily Le Monde revealed that Qatar, which has very few native French speakers, had not yet paid any contribution to the OIF, while the outgoing administrator of the OIF complained in 2015 that Qatar had not kept any of the promises it made when it joined the organization and had never paid its annual membership fees. Healthcare standards in Qatar are generally high. Qatari citizens are covered by a national health insurance plan, while expatriates must either receive health insurance from their employers, or in the case of the self-employed, purchase insurance. Qatar's healthcare spending is among the highest in the Middle East, with $4.7 billion being invested in healthcare in 2014. This was a $2.1 billion increase from 2010. The premier healthcare provider in the country is the Hamad Medical Corporation, established by the government as a non-profit healthcare provider, which runs a network of hospitals, and ambulance services, and a home healthcare service, all of which are accredited by the Joint Commission. Qatar's culture is similar to other countries in Eastern Arabia, being significantly influenced by Islam. Qatar National Day, hosted annually on December 18, has had an important role in developing a sense of national identity. It is observed in remembrance of Jassim bin Mohammed Al Thani's succession to the throne and his subsequent unification of the country's various tribes. The Doha Cultural Festival is one of the cultural activities carried out annually by the Qatar Ministry of Culture, Arts, and Heritage, which began in 2002 with the aim of spreading Qatari culture inside and outside Qatar. TV broadcasting in Qatar was started in 1970. 296 Al Jazeera is a main television network headquartered in Doha, Qatar. Al Jazeera initially launched in 1996 as an Arabic news and current affairs satellite TV channel of the same name, but has since expanded into a global network of several specialty TV channels known collectively as the Al Jazeera Media Network. Press media has undergone expansion in recent years. There are currently 7 newspapers in circulation in Qatar, with 4 being published in Arabic and 3 being published in English. There are also newspapers from India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka with editions printed from Qatar. The music of Qatar is based on Bedouin poetry, song, and dance. Traditional dances in Doha are performed on Friday afternoons. One such dance is the Arda, a stylized martial dance performed by 2 rows of dancers who are accompanied by an array of percussion instruments, including LRAS, a large drum whose leather is heated by an open fire, tambourines, and cymbals with small drums. Association football is the most popular sport in Qatar, both in terms of players and spectators. 305 Shortly after the Qatar Football Association became affiliated with FIFA in 1970, one of the country's earliest international accolades came in 1981 when the Qatar national under-20 teams emerged as runners-up to West Germany in that year's edition of the FIFA World Youth Championship after being defeated 4-0 in the final. On December 2, 2010, Qatar won their bid to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup, despite never previously qualifying for the FIFA World Cup finals. Local organizers built 7 new stadiums and expanded one existing stadium for this event. Qatar's winning bid for the 2022 World Cup was greeted enthusiastically in the Persian Gulf region as it was the first time a country in the Middle East had been selected to host the tournament. Though football is the most popular sport, other team sports have experienced considerable success at senior level. Cricket is popular amongst the South Asian diaspora in Qatar. Basketball is a developed sport amongst Asian people in Qatar. The illiteracy rate in Qatar was 3.1% for males and 4.2% for females in 2012, the lowest in the Arab-speaking world, but 86th in the world. Citizens are required to attend government-provided education from kindergarten through high school. Qatar University, founded in 1973, is the country's oldest and largest institution of higher education. Slightly smaller in area than the U.S. state of Connecticut, the Qatar Peninsula is about 100 miles, 160 kilometers, from north to south, 50 miles, 80 kilometers, from east to west, and is generally rectangular in shape. It shares a border with eastern Saudi Arabia where the peninsula connects to the mainland and is north and west of the United Arab Emirates. The island country of Bahrain lies some 25 miles, 40 kilometers, northwest of Qatar. A territorial dispute with Bahrain was resolved in 2001, when the International Court of Justice awarded the Islands, just off the coast of Qatar, to Bahrain and gave Qatar sovereignty over Jainan Island and the ruined fortress town of Al Zubarah, on the Qatar mainland. Thank you for watching this video.